Hi, Rajesh.
Hey Marek, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, pretty good. Thanks.
I saw that you had time to add some pictures to your section.
Yeah, I had the picture, but and make some very many minor repair changes. I just changed that word from repair, rework to repair because I think that's only possible in system packaging. But I
Yeah.
did not get chance to anything else. But
Okay.
yeah, I think I need some other two eyes like Boone or something. If he or she can go through, then it will be better.
Yes. Okay. That sounds good. So my goal is also I've been working at the document a little bit at a higher level so far and addressed some of the comments that the people had put in.
Mhm.
I also want to go through everything kind of as a holistic document and make sure that I think there's still some
Yeah,
paragraphs that
yeah, of
should be
course.
somewhere else. And then, but I would, I'm happy to give you comment or feedback on that as well.
Sure, that will be great.
Okay. Hi, James.
Hey,
Hi,
hey guys,
Anshu.
good
Hi,
morning.
Boone.
Yep.
Hi guys.
Hey, Murray. Hey, everyone.
Marie.
We can give it like another minute or so, and then we can get started.
Sure.
I already used the time to share my screen.
Are we still like working on the white paper and trying to kind of get that finalized? Is that
Yes, yeah, that's right. And I did have like one or two other questions about what we could be doing in the work group otherwise. Like I came across, for example, a paper from UCLA about a chiplet cost model, and I was wondering if maybe things like that would also be of interest to the group and whether we could reach out to the authors of that paper, for example, and have them present at one of the Fridays if they're up for it to give us kind of a rundown of their cost model and the messages or the main points that they've extracted from this research.
sure? At least I would be interested in going through the paper, and I can try to reach out to the UCLA guys or whoever.
Okay, yeah. Do you know them directly, or like this is um Professor Gupta
I
from UCLA?
I don't know. I've interacted with Subu Iyer, who used to run the chips thing at UCLA.
Yes.
So
Oh, I see. Okay, okay. I think I could like I'm separately there's this SRC Jump 2.0 research center or like research effort, and one of the centers is on heterogeneous integration, and I guess chiplets play a part in that. So I'm kind of my company's liaison for this. So I could just like so I've met Professor Gupta before, and I could just send him an email and see if his student would be up to giving or either him or his student giving a presentation on that
yeah,
topic.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Yeah, that's and I guess also if any of you guys have good contacts of people that you would consider or that you think would be a good speaker, that's maybe also something to consider for since I know like if we can easily fill the time talking
Yeah.
about the white paper, but even in between, sometimes it may be just good to have like 2 weeks to work on something, and in the meantime, if people are available to just learn something new, basically.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good idea. Let me think about it and see and do some research.
Okay, sounds good.
In the meanwhile, if you get a chance, if you can just put the paper in the chat or somewhere, the UCLA paper.
Yes, yeah, let me do that. I may have to I may send this out in the email afterwards because I don't have it
That's
handy
fine.
right now, but I'll take a note of this and include that. Yeah. So
Thank you.
I think there was that white paper or that white paper. Then I came across this person Mohammed Abid at this conference ChipCon like a month or two ago, and he said that IMEC had also been doing a cost calculator model, and I asked him if he would be interested in giving the talk. He mentioned that Friday, so he's in Belgium, so then Friday evening is kind of a hard time for him to make that happen. But that may be something else, like maybe he can make it happen once just to give a talk. So that was like one other contact I had in mind, specifically on the topic of cost modeling.
Yeah, that would be great too. And if you know him or if you want help in kind of following up with him, just let me know. I'd be happy to help.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks. Okay, so I think then otherwise we can get started. For today's meeting, I don't think we have to use the full time, since it's really just like a couple updates on what we've been tuning. I'm not sure if Anu will be here. Oh no, she mentioned she will join, but a little bit later. I can maybe just show on a larger scale. I've been going through the document and trying to rearrange things a little bit, with one of the goals in mind that we get the word count down, or sorry, the page count to about 20. And I'm happy to say that we're now, if we just count everything up to next steps, we're just at 20 pages and a little bit. So I think that with a little bit of tweaking, it would be easy to get this to about 20 pages. So I think that's pretty good. In order to get there, I had looked through kind of all the sections again, and I decided I'll circle back with Trent again, but basically for the packaging, we have, I think, like 3 or 4 pages worth just of explanations of all the different packaging technologies, which I think is super helpful. But I did move it to the appendix and want to reference it in the main text to keep that kind of the main text a little bit more high level and focus more on the things like cost and just connections to, say, the interfaces that you have to choose, but then have a sentence saying and we have further explanations of what these technologies are, and then link to the appendix here. I've also, I think for cautious section, there were kind of like he had added things both to the open chiplet market as well as next steps. So I consolidated that all around the open chiplet market. And so with all of that, I think we're getting closer to having a final, like a final revision, I would say. I did also, last time we talked a little bit about this discussion we've had earlier this year from January to March, which was around basically chiplets or business challenges for companies. And there were various companies that gave feedback on this. And I can pull up the slides on that again. But basically, after going back and looking at the main feedback that we've gotten, I'm actually like positively surprised that we're addressing these things quite well in the white paper. So this here was the presentation that I had made as a summary of all these companies giving their input on what challenges are. And then this here was the list of basically like just trying to consolidate what people have said, and they may have said it in different ways, but ultimately those were all the challenges that were highlighted. And so if we look at the most, like I would say, relevant ones, it's basically the cost benefit of monolithic versus cost overhead. I think we're addressing that in several ways, but specifically through that section of basically the cost modeling. The product schedule and uncertainty, we have that covered in the chiplet market section. About, like, Kash has added a little bit about supply chain there as something. We are also talking about, I would say, the third-party chiplet availability again in the marketplace, and talking about what the challenges are to get there and to get to third-party availability. We're definitely covering chiplet interfaces and packaging very well. Standardization, we also have a big section on, and IP availability. I guess that one's more like, that one we don't have a good article on, but we would have in the appendix section on, these are IP related companies or like chiplet related companies, both IP as well as test and other things. So indirectly there, we're also giving people the means to explore this. So I'm actually quite pleased to see that it came together so nicely. What do you guys think?
Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
By the way, Mary, do you have this PowerPoint somewhere? I think
Yes, I can put that in the chat here. I'm happy to share this. So this is kind of on the same OneDrive or Google Drive as the rest of our documents. But sorry, let me just find the chat here and then I'll post this.
Are you putting a reference somewhere in the white paper to this? I think it might be a good reference.
Yes, that is an excellent suggestion, and I've kind of thought about it but not done that yet. So I'll include this here as a comment for now to say that this is basically a follow-up to.
So yes, I put this in the appendix. I put this. I think that's a good idea.
By the way, where did you presented this?
This was in one of the general meetings. So this was back in March.
Well, you mean
so
in the OCP ODSA meeting?
Yes, yeah, exactly. In the Friday meeting, just kind of before this one. And if you're interested in just hearing back, like I put in this slide here that gives you the links to YouTube to all of the talks from these various companies, so that if you want to go back and like see say what NXP versus like API or so things, you can go watch that.
Got it. Okay, appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I think that was at least for me also very like eye-opening to just and I think people did a good job. Just of course it's a bit of a sensitive topic. You don't necessarily want to give away that your company say has trouble doing X or Y when it's supposed to be something that everyone knows how to do. But I think everyone like struck a good tone, kind of talking about like at a high level, like what are the strategic challenges in order to use chiplets more.
Just send out when you're done editing this.
Interesting.
Send it to them and say,
so I assume you went to
Okay, yeah, but that is yes, yeah, exactly.
Okay. So do you find anything that might be useful here to be included here, or you already covered
Well,
it?
so it was more, I think the reason why it was relatively easy to say to get these companies to speak up was that it by no means did anybody have to present solutions. It was more to say, what are the things that you're seeing as being challenging? So it was basically just stopping at what are the issues. And the goal for this white paper, like back then, was also to address some of these issues, the ones that we can, like many of them are addressed either through standards or through like internal company organization and just for example deciding that you want to go down a chiplet route and investing in that. But to whatever degree information can help to clarify that's kind of the goal of the or back then that was kind of the idea for this white paper. And so now circling back to the main challenges that came up, I think we're doing that very well.
Got it. Okay, so that more like kind of starting point or point statement. This is more kind of addressing whatever that statements collectively, from those a few sessions. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So this is more kind of now for any of the things like, for example, if the challenge is what are the benefits of chiplets from a cost perspective versus monolithic, then the answer in the white paper is let's look at the chiplet cost structure and basically give people a footprint or like a blueprint of how to analyze this.
Yeah, makes sense.
I don't know, but I don't want. I think it's a valid point. Yeah.
So let's see. Other than that,
they're 6 years behind.
Kasha, I think you just joined a little bit later. I was talking about what I had done as tweaks to the document. I've consolidated your two sections into, like, I think you had sections in the open marketplace and then the in next steps. So I put that back, everything into the marketplace, and I think some of the thoughts were like you had basically two paragraphs written about the same thing. So I had at least put it into one section, but it would be good to still go through it and see which text you think represents this better in the end.
Yeah, no, I'll go through it. I unfortunately was busy this morning, so
no, totally fine. No worries.
So I will And I have to leave early. It's just
Okay.
it's a meeting hell Friday right now.
I know. No,
But,
I was already telling others today's just like a quick update, so no worries if you have to drop off
Okay.
early. Yeah. I think I had seen from the paragraphs that you wrote, one, and Bobby gave you, I guess, a comment about this.
Yeah, we're changing. I'm changing that.
Yeah, okay.
I talked to Bapi, and he is right.
Okay.
I shouldn't be so obnoxious. So I will be a gentleman, and everything's wonderful.
Okay. And I mean, I think it's okay to say, like, what I realized, especially for a bunch of wires in UCIe, I wanted to double check with kind of, I have 2 paragraphs on that in the standards section on die-to-die interfaces. And so if it's just I think from a general like tendency, for example, a bunch of wires prioritizing customization over interoperability, I think that's certainly true. And that's kind of what I said here, and hope that that's not incendiary, as Bobby put it. It's a truth that in our discussions, the goal is to make sure that people can easily use the interface for their needs. And we've come across that point many times, that you should talk to the other party first if you want to work with their chiplet. Whereas UCIe is taking a deliberately different approach.
Right, and I think the in the context of the open market system, and I don't want to belabor the point, it becomes difficult, right? So let's say I'm going to think about developing a chiplet, right, and spend, let's say, $10 million developing this chiplet. Which standard am I going to use? Am I going to use the one that's, you know, is going to be interoperable with other people? Does that make sense? I think that's the point that I'm trying to make.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that, to be honest, somebody choosing Bo for that is probably not the smartest decision. Now, at the same time, if I'm developing a system of chiplets, right, and I want the flexibility, and I want the be able to optimize it for my needs, UCIe is impractical, right? And so somehow we
need to get that across.
We need to get that across without hurting people's feelings, right? So I think those are the
No, that's true, and I think we can do that. I would probably add one thought, which is that there's, I think, a middle ground where, like, not to necessarily like root for a bunch of wires or UCIe, but I think there's also kind of this intermediate step of kind of alignment of companies on co-creating systems by saying, I want to work, like, I want like our chiplets to work together. And I think in this, like, even for UCIe, I think that is what people need to do right now. And you mentioned the paper from Mercedes, where again they were adding like there's a thought of how specifically to make a footprint, and even with UCIe by itself, it's not necessarily understandable how you get to interoperability without agreeing on kind of the footprint first.
It's very, very challenging. So their paper is actually very, very interesting. And at the same time, I think a week ago, Synopsys had a press release or whatever of them doing interop with UCIe, with Intel.
Oh, really?
Right? Okay. Physically, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it's going to be very challenging to make it, but I think the business has to go in that direction, right?
Yeah.
Of working die. So so if you just look at that interop with Intel, and there was some PR on that, right?
Okay. Do you have the, like, I'm just searching for this. I haven't seen it pop on my alerts yet, but if you have the link to that, like, I'm not sure if you're in your car again, but if you have,
No, I'm on a computer, so
okay. If you can post the link to that, that would be helpful, at least for me.
Yeah, keep talking, and then I'll bring up the link.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. So yeah, I think that's for that section. Otherwise, I was also, we talked before a little bit about thinking of maybe some speakers for this work stream, and I mentioned that I'd seen a paper about cost modeling from UCLA, so I was going to reach out to that professor and his student and see if they may want to come in and present that, and for us also to think about if other people have contacts, like if you have anyone that you think would be a good fit to talk about their work in context of chiplets and business and cost modeling, for example, or other aspects, then that would be helpful as well.
So Marek, I'm gonna email it to you because I don't know
Okay.
how to add it to the chat.
Yeah, no problem. I can put it in there for everyone. Are there other other items that people want to? Oh, I guess one thing I wanted to ask the group is, we have been talking a couple times about things, adding both a list of chiplet related vendors as well as chiplet events, for lack of a better term. For the vendors, I did reach out to Bobby, and he is going to provide me with this slide where somebody has already done most of that work of at least a partial list of prominent vendors or players in the space. So I'm going to add that. And then these are kind of the conferences and meetings that I could think of in terms of chiplet events that are worth going to. Like, this is partially just Googling and partially from my own knowledge. Oh, great. Thanks. Oh, you found it in the end. Okay. So do people have other conferences in mind that they are like going to get chiplet updates, or that they know where a lot of chiplet content is being discussed? So far, I can go through the list here. And most of these kind of we have talked about in the general meeting as well. So the OCP summits, both the global one and the regional one, have chiplet tracks usually. There's the chiplet summit that started last year, and they're already talking about the next one in February next year. I found one conference that's in Japan this December that also has chiplets in its title. I've seen a bunch of news from Hot Chips about chiplets, but this is more, I guess, also general architecture. ChipCon I attended this year, and they have chiplets in their name, as well as I think a fair amount of content there. We'll see how that goes next year, because this was the first time they introduced this. And then the Design Automation Conference, Semicon West, and ISSCC, I just assume they have a lot of chiplet stuff there, and I've seen kind of articles from these conferences. And then HIP Chips, I think, is this like subtrack from the Compute Architecture something conference, and it usually happens in parallel, or it's kind of an add-on workshop. So those are the ones that I am aware of.
This IMAPS also that's happening in San Diego.
Yeah.
They talk about, I haven't gone deep in this thing, but they do talk about advanced packaging, flip chip, and 2.5D, 3D, etc.
Yeah, I guess okay. I guess as if we expand it to, well, then we can probably put ECTC on there as well, which is kind of like the premier packaging conference. And IMAPS, I think, is similar. I'm not sure how this all goes, but somehow ChipCon is connected to IMAPS, and then they have kind of a couple of conferences from the same organizers.
Okay, thanks.
Can people think of others?
Not be so direct levels. Maybe ISPD is more towards physical implementations, challenges, and then there's quite some paper discussion about the SAR3D for planning and so on as well.
Okay, so it's called ISPD.
Yeah.
SPD. Okay.
URL should be ispd.cc.
ispd.cc, that's the website?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. That should be they don't change too much. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's good. And then I guess like there are probably like then these as you were saying, like this in terms of physical implementation, there's probably conferences that talk about chiplets but also have their other audience kind of a subgroup. And
Yeah, yeah.
okay, yeah, this seems to be something. Okay, okay, so if you can think of others that you would add, then feel free to just add this to the document. But I think otherwise this is already a good start, and definitely a list long enough that probably no individual person can go to all of these. Okay, so for next week, my goal is kind of like similar to what I had stated the last couple of times. I would continue to read through the document and basically make it a little bit just consolidate some of the points that are being made. I think there's still some paragraphs that I would move into different sections because they are more relevant to something else. Like I know Kash had something on known Godai. I would probably try to get that into the test side of things. But otherwise, I'm hopefully by next week I would be far enough to say like this would be like that all the major points that I see I've added in, and then maybe we can have next week I can talk about this a little bit, and then we can have everybody like basically read through the entire document and give feedback, because I think at that point we're getting close enough to do that.
Another one I ask QED as well.
Okay. That's VDHR?
No, I ask QED, the conference, the list.
Sorry, I'm just, can you put it in the chat?
Yeah,
oh, you have
paste
it.
in,
ISQED. Okay. .org. Great. Thank you. Okay. So, does anyone have other things they want to talk about? Oh, I guess Anu is here now. Anu, do you want to, thank you for making those edits. Do you want to walk through them quickly?
Sure, yeah. I cut out a lot of redundant stuff, as you pointed out we had.
Yeah.
So essentially talks about, the architecture is kind of is very important. People a lot of people, and even my organization, assume that, hey, just take it up, break it up, it'll all work. Not quite true. And it impacts the packaging technology you select, impacts the die-to-die file you select. So there's a consequence to every decision taken on the chiplet architecture. And I'm hoping that my first paragraph brings that out somewhat carefully.
Yeah, I really like that addition. I feel like that's a good, also a good motivation for people to continue reading into, say, the die-to-die interfaces, the packaging, and the test as we have like right afterwards, because as you point out there, they all go together.
Yeah, exactly. It's I try to explain this even in my organization, and people are like, what? Why do I have to decide up front? And no, you've got to, because it impacts everything you do downstream, and definitely the cost impact. So after that, we just talked about the two types, which is heterogeneous and homogeneous integration. And the heterogeneous one, we talked about silicon proven IP. Of course, heterogeneous integration is disaggregated by function, and that gives you benefits. We talked about silicon proven IP reuse. And then we talked about, improving time to market. And then because of this reduced design cycle time and a faster time to market, the resources that are now available, we define that as an opportunity cost. And they're free to work on a new product or a new SKU or a new function. Right. I didn't know how better to word that, and if you want to have some more space between those to make it a different paragraph. But I was just trying to reduce the number of lines.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And actually, like now, I may refer again, because we have a longer period that I added last time, which is, and I added kind of the opportunity cost to it, which is in the cost section, where I'm going a little bit into more detail about how to measure this cost. Like if you say things are come to market faster, or you're able to reuse something, like how does that help you basically, and how can you ascribe kind of a monetary value. So then I think it's good that we mention it there, and then tie it back with kind of like jump to the chiplet
A
cost
little more
structure
detail,
to learn more. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And maybe I can change the spacing in that, but by then I was so frustrated with Google Doc.
Okay.
I wanted to kill it, but I couldn't kill it. It does not behave the same as other Word documents. And so I got a little frustrated with it. But I think I need to, I wanted to sort of make 3 different paragraphs there, Marek. The first paragraph talks about in heterogeneous integration. I wanted to talk about, really the benefit of smaller die optimized in different process. That's the first paragraph. The second paragraph would be IP is silicon proven and can be reused.
Yeah.
That's a huge. And the third one is what I call faster time to market and therefore opportunity cost. So I think I need to make that a separate paragraph. So
yeah,
it's not one big giant.
Yeah, like kind of just like that.
Yeah, exactly. And reduce. I played around with that picture. I deleted it by mistake, and then I did all sorts of things. And then at that point I wanted to kill the tool, and then I gave up.
Okay. Well,
you are definitely better than me.
Well, I mean, maybe I just got lucky because I didn't do much.
Okay, and then I talk about the homogeneous systems, and here, I don't know if you want to add that AMD reference here. Everybody knows the public information that AMD has.
Yeah.
If there's a link, maybe we could put it in.
Yeah, no, I think we should, like, that's kind of their paper where they talk about, I mean, they have a gazillion papers, but the one about their kind of like Ryzen or no, the EPYC processor family, and where they detail kind of how they save money that way. Okay, yeah, I can put the link to that one in.
So the EPYC started off as homogeneous and then eventually went heterogeneous. That's EPYC Gen 2 went heterogeneous. So I don't know which one it fits into, but maybe we add that reference somewhere. And then there's just talked about Xilinx. The FPGA section was there.
Yes, so
Irina had added in. I don't know where it disappeared.
No, yeah. So I moved this down because in the later on this was specifically geared at the interop and security as an argument.
Okay.
So I had added this to the bottom, like basically in the open chiplet market, one of the subsections is on interop, which Kash wrote, and so I added that back there because he already mentioned the same ideas in that place.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, because I know Irina had that section, so I didn't touch that piece at all.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Okay. So I've got mine, and then I talked to Irina. She was going to look at her chiplet cost structure and reduce that. And I don't know if she actually did.
Okay.
She is not going to join our meetings anymore because she's employed with a company which does not appreciate her participating in these meetings.
Okay.
She does want, since she's already put in the work, she wants to finish it, but she won't be actually able to join the meetings anymore, but she can make the edits and finish up her portion. So Marek, if we have questions, we should just email her because she's unlikely to join the meeting.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, she mentioned something similar to me, but it was at an earlier point where she wasn't sure if maybe it was going to work out in the long run, but then it sounds like
no, yeah, it looks like she started her new job and for some strange reason they're not open to these open source meetings. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
That's
okay.
All. Yeah.
All right. I think I wouldn't have anything else to discuss. And
so Marek, what is the time frame for publication, and where would we just put it on the OCP site?
So I think the OCP site to me would be the natural starting point. I guess I'm open to the idea of also submitting it somewhere else. Not sure. I guess you're certainly the veteran there. I'm not sure like how this has gone in the past. But in terms of timeline, so I was talking to Bapi again just about general structure. I was telling people earlier I went back to these presentations we had at the beginning of the year in terms of challenges people have seen. Yeah, see you, Kash. And I think we're covering a lot of the aspects that have been flagged quite well. So I think we're like pretty far, and now it's just kind of a polishing. So I said that I wanted to read through everything one more time to kind of like move things around in the places so that there is no duplication. And then probably I would ask everybody to basically put in comments on their own and say, like, what do they think? Where do we need to polish things a little bit more? But I think then we're in pretty good shape, and hopefully we can wrap this up even, like, we may be able to meet the kind of the OCP deadline and have it ready by then. That may be a nice finishing point.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Marek.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. If there are no other questions, then we can, yeah, just I'll give you guys back half an hour, and on a Friday, I'm sure that everyone can use that.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.